Hey guys, it's me Stormie, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about rulership and when a planet is exalted and what a little bit of the difference is and some of the good and bad of that as well. So now if you know anything about astrology, you've been studying, even if you're basic and just kind of coming into it, you do know rulership, even though you might know that that's what we call it. For example, we know that Cancer is ruled by the moon. We know that Aries is ruled by Mars. We know that Leo is ruled by the sun, because this rulership, this is the planet's purest expression in this sign, right? It's at home, it's comfortable, it's just doing its thing. We're getting the good of it. Good energy, okay? And you'll hear people when they do an interpretation or when they're doing a horoscope, they will talk about these placements in your chart. Now, you're not going to always hear an astrologer talk about the exaltation of a planet. It just doesn't always talk about that. So just for an example, when you're listening to, or if you get, like, let's see, a chart analysis or something like that, and the astrologer says, okay, well, you have Cancer on the cusp of your second house. So right on that borderline between first and second house, right there, okay? So when we're looking at that and we analyze that, we're going to say, okay, now the moon is the ruler of Cancer, right? And as we continue to look at the positions and the aspects it makes and things like that, will help to be able to describe maybe some income-related issues or blessings that would also be related to that. So you see how that's a little bit more interpretive when we're looking at it in the rulership. Now, exaltation is when a planet is not in its ruling sign, right? But it also has a really nice, delicious relationship with the sign that it's in. So keep in mind, we're talking exaltation, rulership of planets in different signs, okay? So when we look at how this is different when we do an interpretation, you're just not going to always hear an astrologer talk about this, because the distinction between them, you can get really lost. You can start expressing too much in a chart and get lost in the details. But when we're looking at an exaltation, just know if you hear me or anybody else say this planet is exalted here, this is a very high expression of the planet's energy. While even though it's not in rulership, which is its most comfortable, here we're really getting some superior action and energy from this planet, okay? It's really got a lot of potential behind it. So one example we can see of this is that Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo, which is phenomenal because it rules that sign anyways. So what happens when we see Mercury exalted here, this is like the mental acuity, the intellect, the good of all of these energies that comes out of this very analytical earth sign, who's now not only ruled by this planet, but this planet is finding its full expression here. We get somebody who is really just on their game. They're finding these details. They're probably witty. They're mentally sharp. Things like that, okay? But now when we look at what's the opposite, it's like, okay, this is great. This is exalted in this placement. But what happens on the other end of that spectrum? Well, that's where we see the planets in fall. And if you haven't watched my fall video, check it out. Mercury becomes fuzzy and in fall in the sign of Pisces. It's the thinking's not clear, the communication's not clear. It's very confusing, right? So you see the difference between, I'm exalted over here. This is like, I have something amazing to offer. The other one is, I'm worried. I'm not getting this done well. This is not working out well. Now, another example that mirrors this is that Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. She is love magnified, love superior here, right? The capacity to love is overflowing when we see this energy. But her fall is in Virgo, right? Where it's possibilities for love can very easily be passed up because of the nitpickiness, the analyticalness of it. It has to go through too many filters and ideas before it can actually be accepted. So you see what I mean? That is the difference between when we see something exalted, a planet exalted, and one in fall. Now, one thing I can point out to you is that exalted doesn't always mean better, because just because you have this like superior energy, you can really move with this, you lose the the process of how you got there, because this can actually happen very naturally, right? So you're not having to exert yourself. You're not having to grow at all. When we see a planet in fall, the journey of having to overcome creates a heck of a lot of spiritual growth. And while it's like we're humans and we don't want to grow, we don't want to go through any pain, you know, all of that good stuff, this is the thing that we change lifetimes with. So exalted does not always equal better. When I'm looking at the dignifies of planets in a person's chart, I also feel like that ties a lot into their soul's journey and past lives, not just what we're looking at currently. So one of the other things I'll tell you is that not every astrologer really digs into the dignifies and debilities. They just don't. And that doesn't make them a less astrologer. That doesn't anything. That doesn't take away from anybody's street cred. But I want you guys to have this extra layer of knowledge, especially because in my videos, more and more you will hear me expand our astrology knowledge base to include some of these things to offer you more perspective. So like this video, comment, share, subscribe. You guys, in the description box down below, I have put a chart of where the planets are exalted. Not only where they're exalted, but the rulerships are down there as well. Of course, if you need a reading, you need a full natal chart because you don't actually know what your chart looks like, click in the description box or come and visit me at stormiegrace.com and let me help you out, okay? All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow for day 3 of 90 videos in 90 days. Bye, guys.